Very good morning to you. If you just tuned in, this is the Situation Room. Nduko and Dennis. I sat with you this morning, and as you connect with us on the Situation Room, our live streams are up YouTube, Facebook, and on X. And welcome back to our audience on KTN, wherever you're tuned in around the country and indeed around the world, as you normally do. This is the conversation where we'll talk about things that matter and that matter, and we're going to be doing that this morning again. And we're going to get into a conversation. You think it's not political, you think it's not about leadership or governance, but it is. And when it comes to the education of our children, and we talk about free education, we're going to go into what it means. He's the 49th president of the Law Society of Kenya, an advocate, senior counsel, most recently, and the smile on his face tells all. Good morning, Nelson Havi.
Good morning, Do.
How are we doing?
I'm great.
You know, we didn't congratulate you properly when you were conferred senior counsel.
Yes. We ought to have had some Luo and Nigerian traditional dances.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
we need to make it up to you with at least a gourd of palm wine with the dancers.
Absolutely.
We'll make that happen.
We'll come with feathers. I will bring the Luo Council of Elders and their people to make sure we dance.
Thank you. Look forward to that.
Karibu sana. We're going to get into that conversation because we talk about it. We are incensed in this room when we talk about the education issue. We ask ourselves so many questions, and we talk about free education, but is it really free? And we'll go into many of the things that parents have to deal with, stakeholders, teachers up in arms in terms of their angst towards how things are working. And we have a ministry who's the vanguard of this sector. But we'll talk about that in a bit. Dennis this week takes us to an island nation.
Yes, Cape Verde, also known as Cabo Verde. And just economic fact about Cabo Verde, we talk about tourism and transport and public services making up the largest share of GDP. But then again, there is also a remittances that comes from their citizens who are outside the country because it's a small island country. And the remittances help push the economy forward. Same thing one would say Kenya experiences. But the problem we get from the people of Cabo Verde, hide your pain so you can sing. Hide your pain so you can sing. How would you interpret that?
Nobody cares about your pain. So for you to prosper, just forget about it. Yes, that's how I will put into concept.
Short and sweet, yeah. But it's true. Nobody really cares about your pain.
Yeah.
You know, so you might as well just deal with it silently, push yourself, and later you have something
In fact,
to
they're
smile
only
about.
interested about your gain.
True.
Indeed. Well, all right. So, free education, what does that mean? Let's start there.
Education is the primordial problem that is facing Kenya today. It's not about the factions that are prepared to take over leadership from President William Samoei Ruto. It's education. And let's pick out this problem from its source. The 844 system of education was inaugurated in January 1985. It has been in place for that long period of time until 2018, when the government of President Uhuru Kenyatta decided to overhaul it and replace it with the CBC. And in doing so, they failed to take into account the need to amend the Act to domicile CBC. And this system has gone on with tremendous failure right from inception. Lack of funding, lack of training for teachers, lack of classrooms, lack of laboratories and workshops. It's total failure. But what does the Constitution provide? The Constitution provides for free basic education to all children. And children connote anybody below the age of 18. And in the hierarchy of rights given under Article 53 of the Constitution, free basic education ranks second after the name. So over and above your name, Nelson Havi, you are entitled to free basic education.
Free and
you should
mandatory.
You should not pay for anything. Is it free? As a matter of fact, it's not free. We are paying for basic education. And it's not even basic education as was intended by the people who formulated the system of education. It's a warped system. The other day you heard, and I say this with tremendous respect, the chief executive of this country say that if you're good in football, you don't need to be taught mathematics.
Yeah.
When did football become a vocation? Are you getting me? When did football become an alternative to mathematics? How will you calculate the goals you've scored if you don't know mathematics? But let's take it further. Over and above free basic education for children, the youth are entitled to relevant training. That is under Article 55. And that is a responsibility of the government. It's a right given to the youth. So that as you transcend from childhood beyond 18 to 35, you are entitled to relevant training to enable you work or undertake a business. And fundamentally, again, the government is duty-bound as a matter of right to ensure that it gives the youth access to employment. Is that the case in Kenya? It is not. On a previous occasion, I've said, the only form of employment that is available in this current dispensation, after you've been trained through this flawed system, is threefold. You can either work as a KWS officer, Kenya Forest officer, NYS, National Police Service, KDF, and recently as a trainee in the Affordable Housing Project. That is how bad the picture is. Can I paint it further?
Let's paint it.
Let's paint it.
And you understand, the people who have been given the mandate of ensuring that free basic education, relevant training, and deployment opportunities are available are not doing their work. This is Parliament, the National Assembly. And you know, I've been the pioneer of challenging this enterprise. I went to court in 2021 and challenged the CBC system. Your Parliament, your executive came to court and defended this enterprise. On what premise did they defend it? They said, yes, of course, we have not amended Section 41 of the Basic Education Act to change the system of education from 844 to 2663. But nonetheless, we've spent so much time and money in it, just permit it to go. We've not enacted regulations to change the curricula to CBC, but nonetheless, we've printed so many books, we've spent so much time, allow us to go with it. And then our gullible judiciary, and I say this with tremendous respect.
Okay.
This is what these judges said, and this is sad. On failure to amend the Basic Education Act, they said, from the material before court, it is a fact that there has been no regulation under Section 73(4) of the Basic Education Act. And then they go, despite the absence of regulations under Section 73 of the Basic Education Act, and in view of the regulation under Section 95, the second respondent did not develop the curriculum in a vacuum. So they find that there are no regulations to develop the curriculum. But nonetheless, they say, okay, fine, it was not developed in a vacuum. What about the main contention on the change of 844 system to CBC? Look at what they said. I don't know where these judges came from. This is what they said. We have interrogated the issues before us, and we are satisfied beyond doubt that the doctrines of proportionality, best interests of the child, public interest, balance of convenience, and prejudice are applicable in this matter. Then they allow a flawed enterprise intended to cripple the education system to thrive. But fundamentally, this is what they said in conclusion. They said, fine, we've seen all those flaws. We're going to allow you to continue with this flawed system. But try and do this to make it good. The Cabinet Secretary of Education shall initiate the process of amending Section 41 of the Basic Education Act to align the structure of education with the CBC within 120 days. You know how long ago that was? That was on the 20th June 2024. How many days? 120 days. It's not been done.
Right.
Your members of National Assembly are moving all over, making noise ati wanataka kulinda inji, wanataka kupendua ichi. It's not been done. Okay? This is what the court said again. The Cabinet Secretary in charge of education shall make regulations as demanded of him by Section 73 of the Basic Education Act within 120 days. How many days since 20th June 2024? Nothing has been done. The Cabinet Secretary is always on air, making noise on capitation, on funding, directives to headmasters and principals not to send children away. They have not done what they're supposed to do. Lastly, this is what the court told them. The Cabinet Secretary in charge of basic education shall set up a committee to ensure the implementation of the recommendations of the report of the Presidential Working Party on Education Reform, dated 9th June 2023, within 90 days of today's date. When was that? 20th June 2024. Mm-hmm. Do we have a parliament? Do we have an executive? Do we have a Cabinet Secretary in charge of education?
We do.
What is their work? And we say that we have a system of education that can guarantee the children of today, the youth of today, a place in this country? I don't think there is.
So the council want to ask the question. If what we've just seen was taken in court and the court actually agreed that the system is flawed and needs fixing, one asks the question then, did we get it wrong from the word go? And today, as we implement CBC, which the court has found to be unconstitutional, what does that mean then to the education system that Kenyans are going through today? Because one would go and even say all the certifications that have been given throughout this entire period are unconstitutional and therefore do not warrant or do not give power to read if on that basis.
From a legal perspective, the education system in Kenya, all the certificates that have been given are null and void. I mean, conceptualize this. You may travel from Kenya with your certificates, maybe to a country, maybe in the United Kingdom. Yes. And if they were to do verification, in a serious democracy will say, no, we can't recognize your papers because we're the legal framework upon which you got this training. It's as simple as that. That's why I've told you. The only thing you can get out of this education is to go and clear takataka from the road, open doors for Wakina Oscar Sudi, understand, be their guards, tend to their crops, look after the forests, look after wildlife, go to affordable housing units, and if you're fortunate enough to bribe your way up, join the KDF.
And Wakili, these are things that the country is aware of. The government of Kenya is aware of because we have the Attorney General who is the chief legal advisor of government. This is a court order. A court order is law that ought to be implemented. Members of Parliament are aware of the responsibilities to make the education system in the country be tandem with what the Constitution is saying. Asks the question then, is there any political goodwill to fix the education sector? And if not, why, Wakili?
Well, I was fidgeting with my phone. I wanted to get an extract from the book Presidentialism by Professor Nobweze on the intelligent quotient expected of an MP. When we take a break, I'll eventually retrieve it and read it to you. What is the academic and professional qualification of Oscar Sudi? What is the academic and professional qualification of Selassie? You know, I could go on and on and on. You people have given heavy responsibilities to individuals who have no wherewithal of what is required of them. Therein lies the problem. I don't think they know of the existence of this order. You get it? So you have an illiterate parliament to a large extent. And the office of the Attorney General does not help because it is their work to advise the government of the day on what to do. But my interaction with that office is this. It is often their work to receive signals from the government of the day on how to avoid compliance with the law. Therein lies the problem, because how can you explain? I know there have been speakers before me who have spoken at length on this matter. I know Dr. Ogada has spoken about the thing. Dr. Wandia has spoken about the thing. Nobody wants to listen to them. You get it? Nobody wants to listen to them. Because you see, those who are illiterate will always want to ignore the knowledge from those who are informed. Understand? That is the spectacle, that is the infamy, that is the calamity that has bedeviled the education system in Kenya. Will it change? Not in the near future. We are likely to have a generation of inadequately educated, insufficiently prepared youth. You understand? A gullible population. That's exactly what we're facing.
Okay. For the thing, there's something that you said earlier on that has got me in a bit of a mental bind here. Is that essentially we're practicing on a premise that has not been established by law.
Yes.
That if you wanted to change the education system, because, look, even in some of the stories that we carry this morning, again, the CS in the Ministry of Education has talked about the fact that our current Form 3s, after they sit the final KCSE next year, won't have an opportunity for reprieve in case anything goes wrong. Essentially, we phased out the entire 844 system now. We would have phased out the entire 844 system by December 2027. That's going to happen. But what we are saying, and this is what worries me, is that our current grade 10s, who, by the way, we still don't have books for them. And they've just sat, or they're sitting this week, a midterm exam, at least in the national system, in the public system. And so our current grade 10s, who've been the guinea pigs of this CBE since they were in grade 3, are sitting in a system that lacks the legally required establishment to activate that system. Is that what you said?
That's what I've said. And look, my parents were teachers. I'm a product of teachers. I may not be a teacher, but at least I have some legal knowledge on what is good insofar as education is concerned. There is a problem. The education system has been put on a railroad to nowhere, with no avenue of stoppage, with no respite of control, with no recall of going back. Ideally, that's where we are. That's why I've depicted to you the picture of an inadequately trained population, of an irrelevantly trained youth. What catastrophe are we looking at? You get it? I mean, suffice it to say, if Kenyans are really interested in change, in a revolution, it is not in these masses of noise we hear today. The revolution you need to undertake is simple. Go and pick the children of Migos or Ogamba and take them to these CBC schools. Okay? Go and pick the children of Bitok and take them to these schools. Go and pick the children of all these members of National Assembly and take them to these schools. You understand? At one point in time, the mafia dons in Sicily decided to have some judges jailed in some of their jails so that they could see what problems
existed
there. And there was a reform. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. I was compelled to have my children go to a different system of education because when I embarked on the initiative to reform through litigation, I was ridiculed. I was told you are challenging a system that the government has put so much investment in. You are a rabble-rouser. You are a disruptor. In fact, these 3 judges accused me of laches. They accused me of all manner of things. I really doubt which schools they went to. But anyway, here they are. Perhaps they were protecting some other interests. But to answer your question directly, this train is destined for danger. It will derail. And I've found a book.
Okay.
Presidentialism in Commonwealth Africa. This is what it speaks about the parliament in a developed, in a young, largely illiterate country, where public opinion is undeveloped and slow to form and to articulate, an independent legislature can be the rallying force of the people against incipient tyranny. Its members, by virtue of their education and standing in society, are eminently well placed to act as the articulators and guardians of the nation's ethic, and the assembly provides them with an excellent platform from which to try to mobilize public opinion against abuse of power by the executive.
Okay.
This is what we're lacking in Kenya.
Because it's a conversation, sometimes you can throw in, some personal anecdotes and things like that. Because you mentioned that, if you had the people who run the system putting their offspring in the system, then you probably have one of the most perfect systems ever, because you don't want anything to happen untoward to those you call your own.
Exactly.
One of the things my mother said to me when she was ridiculed for putting us in some of the best schools at that point was, she said, and my father, they said, you know what? An education is something that nobody will ever be able to take away from you, and it will give you the opportunity to get into places where others may not. And that's what that is probably one of the best things you can actually do for the children of a nation. As we go to the break, Nelson, are we doing a disservice to the children of Kenya by not giving them what the law has actually said we do? We shouldn't be going down this mountain and say, okay, well, at least you got to the bottom of the mountain, or rather to the top of the mountain. At least you got there, whether you've done so with one leg missing or you have half your hair pulled off, but you should actually get there in one piece. Is a disservice being done to these children today?
Education is the equalizer. Everybody is intended to be equal. Understand? I went to Musingu High School and studied with the sons of who is who in Kenya. You understand? I went to the University of Nairobi and studied with the sons and daughters of who is who. You understand? It's an equalizer. You all run on the same sled.
Right.
It is not the same now. You understand? Because he who is who and who in the executive and the parliament in Kenya has tinkered with the education system, so that it discriminates against those, and I used this terminology the other day on Nation, and one of your colleagues who has very little understanding about social stratification said, you can't classify the society. So it discriminates those who are low in the social strata. You understand?
Yeah.
But doesn't mean that if you are low in the strata, you are hindered from growing up educationally.
And that's what education should do for you.
Yes, all of you.
It puts you in the pipe.
Together.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter whether you're the son of a minister, you're the son of a prince. you must start together and run together. You get it? Even in England, the royalty, they are taken to schools where they're equalized.
Yeah.
You understand? Your competence and capacity will enable you pass the examination. It wouldn't matter whether you are the Prince of Wales. You will be subjected to the same training, like everybody. But here, no, it's not equal. You understand? Yeah.
We're going to come back from a break and then ask a question in terms of then how the sending, or in this case, the lack of sending of adequate and timely capitation, what this does to an already fractured system. Nelson Havi is here with us this morning. We'll continue that conversation. We'll take a break at this point. 27 minutes to 9 o'clock. We continue after this. Don't go away.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. The weather with SpiceFM.
It's sunny in Nairobi at 17. We'll see a high of 30 and a high of 26 in a sunny Nakuru at 17. It's sunny at 16 in Nyeri. We'll go to high of 26. We'll see a high of 27 in Kisumu, where it's sunny at 21, and it's 19 and sunny into Kakamega. Mombasa at 26 is cloudy this morning. It's partly sunny at 26 into Malindi. Marsabit sunny at 23, and into Kampala it's cloudy at 20. 27 and cloudy in Dar es Salaam. And we'll see a high of 22 in a cloudy Johannesburg at 10 degrees. 27 and mostly clear in Lagos, while it's 6 degrees and cloudy in London. Beijing is sunny at 7. And there's light snow over New York at 0 Sunday night. Coming into Monday, we'll see a high of 4 and a low of 0.
Chilled Spice. Traffic.
All right, taking a look at traffic this morning. It's a busy Monday morning. Folks getting everywhere they need to go today. And it's going to hold you up if you're on the Thika Superhighway. We'll see that traffic finding its way through to the CBD. And right around Ngara, it's going to slow down a little bit. How about that Mombasa Road this morning as you're outbound to the city? It is crazy. Inbound to Mombasa Road is not looking too bad until you get to General Motors and find your way then past Imara, Daima. And that slows down a little bit. Folks who are coming off the expressway, poleni sana, because there's something going on there. And it will probably clear up in a short while. But morning musing, see us doing that. All right, coming off of Langata Road, heading into the city, it is slow. It's crawling along, getting into the CBD, and Uhuru Highway is also a mess, going all the way from your junction there at the Nyara roundabout, all the way to Westlands, actually. And it's morning traffic. It's doing the doozy on us. With that, we can definitely see. As you're coming off the Thika Superhighway, it's still very heavy, coming in all the way from that Roiro interchange through towards Pangani. So that doesn't look too fun right about now. And also, as you come off of Kiambu Road, it's going to be busy for a minute. Raila Odinga Way, then getting through towards Ngong Road, and that connection is moving in some part. Waiyaki Way also busy this morning on the A104. Outbound traffic, not too bad. Inbound traffic, that's another story. Let's see what happens. We're still in traffic hour. We'll keep things moving. We'll talk SpiceFM KE on X. Hashtag the Situation Room.
94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Our conversations continue at 24 minutes to 9 o'clock. Nelson Havi's here this morning. And I think you have people in a state of chagrin, Nelson, because you basically told them that anybody who with a certificate after 20, anybody with a certificate since the CBC came into existence has an invalid certificate. But it's a bit scary for a lot of folks because the law to establish this 120 days has never been done. And first of all, we can even start with cleaning house. Before you put up new curtains, you might want to make sure that you've cleaned the mess that was there before. That notwithstanding, we still continue with the thing. And one of the big issues that hits us in the face every minute is capitation. As of 2025 March, the bill on capitation, and this is money that was owed, was 64.7 billion shillings. Is money that did not go to schools. So you want to ask ourselves the question, that capitation that actually did go to schools, how then did they make this happen? And then does it not then give adequate or valid reasons as to why schools then go back to parents and they say, well, you're going to have to top up a little bit because in terms of public money, it didn't come to us, and we're expected to deliver to you as parents for your children, as well as vanguard over the process of the transfer of knowledge. That can only happen with resources. Now, free education means that there is an amount of money that comes from government to then be able to aid this process. That has not happened to the tune of 64 billion shillings. We are sitting in a space today in 2026 where the capitation that was sent in January essentially was making up for what happened in third term 2025. So we are already in debt and we are at the half of the term. I don't even know how to ask the end part of that question. I guess you can go with it, help Nelson.
Yeah, you know, you warned in a manner sort of to scare those with certificates post 2018. I mean, it's not in the realm of conjecture. Remember the other day, sometime last year, I lamented about the ability to admit 920 advocates
Yes.
to the bar
Yes.
in 1 month. Ideally, you are admitting 920 advocates every month. You get it? How many advocates are you admitting in a year?
Sheesh.
And I said, there's nothing wrong. The more, the merrier. But what are the qualifications of these people? Okay? That these universities are categorized as village universities. Everybody came against me. They made a lot of noise. But I reminded them, I'm not here to make them happy. I'm there to make them sad, to tell them the truth. If they want to be made happy, they can go to Prophet Ward's church or any other church or attend one of these rallies. You understand? So that's the stark reality of the problem we have. And then just to close on that topic, toward the end of last year, when the Council of Legal Education examined, what was the failure rate? 87%.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Because we'd shown the light, and the examiners there realized we're going to get a hold of what nonsense they were doing. Look, you cannot tell us you don't have money to fund education. No. Because as I've said, free, compulsory, basic education is a right that ranks number 2 of the rights due to children under Article 53. And you, as a member of National Assembly, cognizant of your mandate under Article 95 of the Constitution, to oversight the executive, okay, to ensure there's an equitable distribution of the national revenue. This capitation you're talking about is all about oversight of the executive and distribution of national revenue. You get it? So you've allowed these people to allocate funds in the construction of stadia.
Right.
It's good. We need sports facilities. But what comes first? Look, here I am, Telemua. I've never played in a stadium. But I went to school because Daniel Arap Moi enabled education. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
What are our priorities? You understand? You as parents, you as teachers, the people who vote, you have the oversight over your executive. You have oversight over your legislature. Ask your member of National Assembly, why has education not been funded? These excuses you're being given are not sustainable. They are gullible explanations.
Okay.
And we cannot have a gullible electorate entertaining gullible explanations. You must say no. We cannot allocate monies towards the construction of stadium. We cannot allocate monies towards the construction of affordable housing units when we can't fund education.
Do I hear you speak, Wakili, that as a country, as a National Assembly, as the leadership, those who've been donated power by the Republic, by Kenyans pretty much, to ensure that priority is given to that which touches each and every single Kenyan, are not doing that job? That priorities are focused on other things other than the most important and intricate matters of a society?
Yes, because those other subordinate issues that have been prioritized are easy conduits for pilfer. Education is not an easy conduit for pilfer. That's why monies are not being allocated here. And you talk of revolutions every day. You cannot undertake a revolution unless the revolution starts with education. You understand? Vladimir Ilyich, Joseph Stalin started with education. The Bolsheviks ensured that Russia, the Soviet Union, was well educated. Fidel Castro did the same thing. Educate the people. Have more engineers, have more doctors, have more economists. You understand? And you cannot do that without education.
Don't we see the same trend? Because we often talk about this developed world that we're essentially chasing.
Yeah.
Don't we see the same trend in the developed world? The developed world has educated its people.
Yes.
At least at the very basic level, you have educated people, and they are the ones essentially who develop your nation. It is not some magic wand that you bring in and swirl the thing around and hope that it happens. You educate your people. Now, if we look at that, I mean, there's something else that you've said here, because oftentimes we try to make the connection in this room, Havi, is that we say, look, can you connect between what is actually happening for you to then be aware? So then, it may be the conspiratorial part of my Monday morning, but could it be that there is understanding that an educated people is a powerful people? And so could it be that this is by design to ensure that the larger percentage of the people that you supposedly educate in this manner that we see is by design to ensure that you don't have a powered populace?
Remember that quote I cited from Nobweze? Yes. The nature of emerging nations and the need to have a parliament that is educated. So the infiltration here is twofold. We've capacitated the National Assembly with individuals who are not educated. Get it? It could be by design. And then with those individuals who are not educated, we're able to push through policies for implementation without oversight from them. You understand? And then we don't want the population to be enlightened, to question. You understand? So we subject them to almost a subsistent form of education. You get it? Sorry, Denise.
Yes.
The categories of those 6 individuals I have enlisted, can they interact with you and challenge you on any discourse? You know, I meet these people every day. Yeah, they'll tell you, so mheshimiwa utatupangaje? Lunch iko wapi? Ya wazee, ya vijana. You know, that is the inquiry. That is the inquiry that is in their mind. Because they've been indoctrinated. They've been educated with that foundation. And you see, with such a foundation of indoctrination, with such a basic form of education that is deficient, insufficient to enable logical thought, critical thinking, to interrogate the qualities of a leader, then you'll have a gullible electorate, which will be conglomerated every day in public rallies, given monies to vote for other inadequately prepared nicompoms to get into parliament, so that these nicompoms cannot question the executive, and the cycle continues. You understand? And God forbid, you'll end up with one of these nicompoms as a president. You follow? There is somebody who got a D, and I'm told he has a PhD from Harvard. He's likely to be a president. Okay, let me not go far. That is the point.
You see, Okili, there is a statement that was made by former President Uhuru Kenyatta that the youth population in the country is a ticking time bomb. That if you do not take care of them, they're going to be a problem. Now, why do I bring that up? Because if you look at the youth at that point and what came to happen a few years later, the Gen Z demonstrations in the country, what were they pushing for? They were pushing for good governance. They were pushing for end of corruption. They were pushing for good leadership in the country and economic viability for everybody. Why is that? It has been credited back to former president, the late Mwai Kibaki, for allowing free education that saw then a huge population of individuals get to school. And as a result of that, it has also been said, they have been able to read the constitution, understand it, and be able to denote it. If you remember, during the Finance Bill 2024, the constitution was being discussed in the open. It was being broken down to mother tongue so that everyone understands exactly what was in that.
With the simplicity.
With the simplicity there is.
That enables Karen Nyamu appreciate the point.
Who is a lawyer, by the way.
Okay.
So, but you read that today, and the investment that go into the education today, you find there is little to none. That we are operating in education with a deficit because there is debt that has not been paid. That means there is an entire education calendar that has never been paid. Hence why we have debt today. And that is disadvantaging many Kenyans from accessing education, that in the future we have dented a population that would be in charge of pushing this country forward. And then I ask the question, is this by design?
It is by design. You see, the 25th June 2024 Finance Bill revolution was a revolution undertaken by watoto wa Kibaki. Unajua mimi ni mtoto wa Nyayo. Hawa ni watoto wa Kibaki walileta hii revolution. These kids are learned. They have skills to interrogate serious issues. Understand? And it's a pity that these kids seem to be giving up because they are the intelligent quotient sufficient for a revolution on the ballot. Because they are able to ask you, Havi, when you get into Parliament as Member of National Assembly for Westlands, what will you do about education and employment for the youth? They are not the type of kids who will ask you, utupange, utupatie lunch ya vijana. You get it? Now, post watoto wa Kibaki, watoto wa Kenyatta Uhuru, na watoto wa William Ruto, hawatakuwa na uwezo wa kuuliza maswali kama hayo. Wanielewa? Hawatakuwa na uwezo. Na hao ndio wataanza kupiga kura katika msururu na ukuja baadaye. You get it? It is by design. And we, the people of Kenya, cannot say that we are helpless because of this design. How can we be helpless? We, the people, are the sovereign. You parents, you teachers, ask of your member of National Assembly. Before they start running around for self-survival, organizing all these stupid rallies all over. What have they done to assuage the plight of the children? Okay? To deal with the plight of the teachers, to address the concerns of the children in school right now. Because if they can't give you an answer, why they have not acted on the 20th June 2024 judgment of the High Court, which required the amendment of Section 41 of the Basic Education Act to align the structure of education with the CBC within 120 days. They have no moral authority to come and ask that you give them another 5-year mandate to serve you. It is you, parents. And I'm speaking deliberately because I've made it my campaign slogan to speak to the parents in Westlands. You understand? So that they see where the problem is. Shida iko hapa, National Assembly. That is where the problem of the education system is concerned. And I say this because, before the promulgation of the 2010 Constitution, education was a whimsical tool of the president. And give credit where it's due. President Daniel Arap Moi, despite immense whimsical power, capacitated the education sector. Nionyeshe university inaitwa Uhuru Kenyatta University. Nionyeshe shule inaitwa Uhuru Kenyatta Primary School. Nionyeshe polytechnic inaitwa William Samuel Ruto Polytechnic. Iko wapi? Hakuna hata moja. Okay? You see, Kibaki said, I don't want to be named after schools. But he capacitated education. You follow? So, post-2010, education ceased being a whimsical action of the president, of the cabinet secretary in charge of basic education of our higher education. It became a legislative function, a role given to the representatives of the people to ensure that their children, their youth, are adequately trained for the job market. They are prepared for their role as citizens of the country. And this, friends, is something that you must interrogate seriously. You must address it. You must find a solution to it. It is not in these masses. Hii makelele nyingi kwa mikutano ya masoko haileti manufaa yote kwa wananchi wa Kenya.
Do you think Kenyans have connected the dots?
They can't connect.
That today, the education of the country is so messed up that you, Akili, have been forced to take your child from a public institution to a private institution because you must give your child rightfully so the best there is. that Kenyans today are spending so much more that ordinarily, if the education system was just working, that money they would be using to develop themselves, to do other businesses and biasharas out here, that parents of the Republic have not made that connection, that they have decided to offer private solutions to public problems.
There can never be private solutions to public problems. What only happens in such an eventuality is discrimination. Because those who have gone through the private, better education will be elevated higher than this. You understand?
Yes.
For me, I have no apologies for having taken my children to a British private education system, because I'm not one of those people who have hesitation in trying the risks. I tried it through the CBC. I went to court, you people of Kenya, to defend you. You ridiculed me. The court let us down. Parliament let us down. The Attorney General let us down. So I've done my part. So when I become member of National Assembly, don't come and criticize me that my children are in private schools. I took that deliberate effort. And I can tell you, verily, if you, the people of Westlands, elect me to be a member of National Assembly, my first motion in Parliament would be a motion to dismantle this nonsense called CBC. And the legal framework to undertake that motion is quite here in the Caltas. The 3 directives given in the judgment of the 20th of June, 2024. We have lost this generation that is holding certificates post-2018 to now. But we can't lose it in perpetuity. We must stop this thing. We must overhaul the education system. We must make the children and the youth of Kenya better and sufficiently prepared to meet the responsibilities of adulthood as Kenyan citizens. We owe it to them. We must do it. And for me, I've said I will do it. I don't want, when I'm 97 years old and I cannot remember where my right hand is, to be told you never did anything. I don't want, when I'm dead and gathered with my ancestors, to be told by those who went ahead of me, it was within your power to do this and you didn't do it. I'm doing it right now. I did it by going to court. I was let down by Justice Edwin Ogudi. I was let down by Justice Ndungu. I was let down by Justice Chikiti. And I've now been let down by the National Assembly. I've been let down by the Attorney General. I'm not going to give up. I'll continue the fight if given the mandate to address this issue when the opportune moment arises.
I want to ask a last question here. We're looking at this system, which for some reason, somebody thought that it would be better. Is that wrong to think? If the proper resources were applied with the proper thinking and implementation metrics, would this system actually work for the children of Kenya?
It will have worked. It will have worked if proper legal mechanism will have been put in place. And you see, the dictates of the Constitution are not suggestions. The demands of statutes are not propositions. This is the law. You understand? Because you see, if this system was taken through the legislative process that is required of it, it will have been interrogated. You know, even in Parliament, there are great minds like Dr. Nyikal. You know, you never see Dr. Nyikal in these stupid rallies. But when a motion comes to Parliament for discussion, you will see the footprints of Dr. Nyikal. But they are in the minority. You understand? They are swamped. They are overwhelmed. They are drowned. You get it? So that even if you are to continue putting in money into this system, it won't go anywhere because it is dead on arrival. You cannot put anything on nothing and expect it to stand. It will fall like a pack of cards.
So what next? Because there are children who are in the system, really quickly. There are children who are in the system.
That is the cost of war. We'll have to lose them.
Yeah.
We'll have to lose a generation that is holding these certificates. We can rehabilitate them somehow, but we have to. Look, I've told you, somebody has said, you don't need to study mathematics if you can play football. You don't need to study mathematics if you can play piano. In my mother tongue, we say, Bane. I mean, how?
Because if you become the greatest pianist or the greatest footballer, at the end of the day,
People
with the millions
concert.
they get,
You know, Dr. J.J. Masiga
Yes.
used to play football with my father.
Yes.
Dr. Humalo from that country, South. These are footballers, my friend. They're great mathematicians.
Just saying.
Situmalizia hapo.
Hapo tu.
Wamesikia?
I hope
Ama
so.
wanataka waende kwa rallies. Wacha waende. It's up to them.
Nelson Havi is 49th President of the Law Society of Kenya. Senior counsel has been here this morning. He's also running for Member of Parliament Westlands and says, you know what? Give us an opportunity to then be able to change some of these things, because the fundamental legislature where some of these things actually change. And perhaps there's rehabilitation that's needed for those who are unfortunately in the system at the moment. There's a lot of work to be done.
We'll remedy this problem.
We'll remedy, yeah. There's a lot of work to be done, and he's saying, you know what, I can do the work.
Thank you, friends.
Thank you so much for being here this morning.
Have a brilliant day.
It's 9 a.m.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.